everyone, welcome back to One Awesome Autistic. I'm Lee. I have autism spectrum disorder and ADHD, and those are the topics I talk about in my video. Obviously this one is being filmed from my bed. I've not been very well, so I'm trying to rest, but I know I need to get this video done, so I'm kind of just holding my camera for today. And see how I go. Hopefully it won't be too crazy angles and, you know, wobbly and everything for you. But today I wanted to talk about stimming. Anybody who is autistic, seeking a diagnosis of autism will probably know what stimming is. People who are not autistic, they might not have ever heard this term before, but you may have actually seen somebody stim before. So we're going to talk about that in this video, and I'm going to talk about as well what my stims are. I'll show you what my stims are as well in this video. So let's get all the sort of like technical jargony stuff out the way first. Stimming is short for self-stimulatory behaviour. I have to say that slowly because otherwise I can't say it properly. It's a bit of a tongue twister for me. But you can see why it is shortened to stimming, much easier to say even. Stimming is not just actually an autistic thing, but it is more sort of like known for being associated with people who are autistic. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups and other social media platforms and things like that, and everybody that I've come across actually has more than one stim. I haven't really seen anybody that just has one. So multiple stims seem to be a factor as well for a lot of autistic people. And what makes something a stim is that it is repetitive behaviour. Apparently if it's not repetitive, it's not a stim. So self-stimulatory repetitive behaviour is what stims are. There are a lot of different types of stims. Some are very obvious, like arm flapping. Some can be very subtle, like actually biting your nails can be classed as a stim as well. Some stims are auditory as well, so some people may click their tongue, that type of thing as one of their stims. And what stimming is a reaction to overstimulation or a way of expelling emotions. And this isn't necessarily negative. Some people stim when they're worried or anxious. Other people can stim when they're happy. I've seen a lot of where like mothers and parents of autistic children have said that their kids have what they call happy flapping, and when they flap their arms when they're happy or excited about something. I do both. I stim when I'm worried or anxious, and I also stim when I'm happy as well. For me, what it feels like is I have too much emotion in my body, and I don't know how to release it or get it out, but I have to in some way, otherwise I'll just explode and I won't be able to deal with it. Some stims I have control over, some stims I don't have control over, and over the years, when not knowing about being autistic, I suppressed stims, didn't know what there was, knew that it wasn't sort of like socially acceptable behaviour, and then that just makes it worse. So since I have had the knowledge of being autistic, and actually started stimming, my meltdowns and burnouts and things like that are not as prevalent, don't have as many of them, but obviously my stimming is a lot more obvious. If I'm out in public, I do still try and suppress it, but then I can sometimes like explode when I get home. I'm very conscious of stimming in public, and conscious of, you know, being stared at. I don't want to be stared at in public, so that's why I try and suppress my stims. Not necessarily a good thing, but it, you know, it works for me for now. There are ways to focus stims as well on something less obvious. So do you remember not too long ago, fidget spinners everywhere? They're a stim toy. Did you know that? And they can help an autistic person focus the stimming energy into that toy. They do also help with ADHD as well. Like for me, I find that because I'm distracted so easily, if I create a distraction for myself, such as playing with a fidget spinner or some kind of fidget toy, then I don't get distracted by other things and I'm able to concentrate on the task that I need to do. To me, that's logical, that works. But yeah, fidget spinners and things like that are a good way to focus, and you have things like chew toys and stuff like that. So anybody who likes to bite or anything like that, or scratch as a stim, you could use chew toys, because then, you know, you're taking up your hand, you're putting it in your mouth and you're biting that instead of biting yourself. That's because unfortunately some stims can be violent, such as headbanging and, like I said, biting and things like that. I have one violent stim, but this only tends to happen in more extreme circumstances, and it only actually happens in my own home. It's when I'm under more extreme pressure, and it's one of the stims I haven't been able to get control of yet. So it's only ever happened like a couple of times, and it's when I've already been ill or stressed for something, and then something unexpected that's negative has happened and I've just like exploded. It comes up all of a sudden and it kind of happens in a burst, and basically what it is I hit the side of my head with my hands, and obviously that hurts, and it does tend to give me a headache as well. Practically all of my other stims are less obvious. I'll talk about the negative ones first so that we can end on a more sort of like positive note. I do hand flap occasionally, doesn't happen that often. It's usually kind of like I'm running around my house excited type of thing. You know, like if I'm going to be going out for the day and I'm trying to pack and whatever, and I just get, you know, the excitement just becomes a bit overwhelming. And it's when I'm usually focused on not stimming and what have you, but typically my stims do involve my hands anyway. If I'm anxious and I'm outside, I tend to rub my hands, or I rub them on the side of my legs or my jacket, and this is usually enough of a comforting feeling to like kind of get me through whatever I'm doing outside, but not always. I do obviously I have stim toys, which I have done a previous video about my stim toys, so feel free to check that out as well to see what, you know, kind of things stim toys are if you're not sure what they are. Check that out. I like squishy things and I like fluffy feeling things, so these are what I tend to have in my little collection so far. And I'll often take something out with me if I'm going to the shops or anything like that, then I can have it in my hand inside my pocket and I don't feel like I'm actually drawing attention to myself, or I can have it in my bag. I've got one that's almost like a keychain, so I can attach that to my bag, and I can just, you know, mess with those when I'm out and about. Nobody really notices that I'm actually stimming. A little story from my childhood for you. One of the things I never realised, which is a story my mum has always told me about what I was like as a child when I was young enough to be in a pram, and my mum obviously never realised as well, is that I used to stim when I was in my pram. So before I could walk and talk properly, well, I could talk, but I kind of like just wouldn't, sort of thing. But I would sit in my pram and I would click my fingers using both hands. Everybody would just be like, "What's that noise?" And my mum would be like, "Oh, yeah, you know, check her out," sort of thing. She's just sat there clicking like a weirdo, and that everyone thought it was just an odd little habit at the time, or that I was just bored in my pram or something. Could have been doing it for that reason, but I have actually learned that clicking fingers is actually quite a common stim, apparently. This is in the things that I was reading that came with my diagnosis report, so I found that quite interesting. I've also bitten my nails since I was about 4, something like that, and this is something seen as a possible stim. Obviously for anybody who isn't autistic who bites their nails, it's seen as an anxiety thing, and obviously stims are to help relieve anxiety as well, so biting nails is a stim. And like I said, a lot of people who are autistic bite their nails as well. But for me, it's about the comforting feeling that I get when I bite my nails that makes it a stim for me. It's almost like what I could imagine taking drugs or something is like. Well, it is. Well, the relief from pain that I get when I take Codemol when I'm in a lot of pain, it almost is the same feeling. It's that feeling of release of something negative, a release of pain, a release of anxiety, that kind of thing. And I don't always notice I'm biting my nails, so I don't always notice that I'm actually feeling anxious. I do auditory stim as well, again, only rarely. I tend to click my tongue or make a hummy kind of type of sound, and that's a reaction to touch rather than emotion for me. Now, I love having like a red hot bath, you know, the type of bath that makes your skin so red you look like a lobster. Those type of hot baths, I find them very just relaxing and calming. But obviously, when you first get into a red hot bath like that, it can actually hurt a little bit. So to kind of take the focus off the pain, I have my auditory stim, and that means I can sort of ease myself into the bath without, and the pain almost disappears, or the kind of like uncomfortable feeling disappears and makes it more of a comfort thing, and then I'm a lot fine quite quickly. So on to the happy stims. We love a happy stim. When I feel like happy or excited about something, I get carried away too easily. My mum has seen this way too many times around Christmas when I get something that I wasn't expecting, and I just like go from 0 to 100 in like 10 seconds, if that. And I actually can't cope with this emotion very well, so I need to stim, otherwise the feeling of excitement, it rises and rises and rises, but it can only go so far, and once it's reached that kind of like ceiling, it's like I hit the ceiling and bounce off, so I plummet back down, and then I'm miserable, and I can end up in tears or have a meltdown. So I need to get that excitement out before I hit the ceiling, sort of thing. And so I have to expel it in a form of energy. So sometimes I'll jump up and down on the spot. Sometimes I will continually and quite fastly clap my hands. I don't know if fastly is a word, but I'm using it. I fastly clap my hands. This gets rid of that energy for me, and then I can just go on being a sort of like more normal, usual level of happy about whatever it is that I'm actually happy about. Now, have you ever been sitting around listening to music, and before you know it, like your head's bopping or you're rocking side to side? You know, that's also one of my stims as well. If I need to feel happy, maybe because I'm anxious or I'm worried or I'm upset or whatever, generally not having a good time, then I will put on like my happy music. Currently that's a lot of songs by different drag queens that I absolutely love, because they tend to be quite happy music, and that's guaranteed to put me in a good mood. My boyfriend often laughs at me when I put my headphones on, I'm listening to music, and before I know it, I'm sat there and I'm like this, and I'm just, you know, I'm in my own little world, and I'm just enjoying it and just living my best life, and he just finds that amusing for some reason. But then, you know, all the worries just cease to exist after that. Now, a lot of autistic people obviously have a lot of different stims. These are just an example of what my stims are like. If you're watching this video and you're autistic and you have stims, let me know what they are in the comments below. If you're not autistic, but you tend to have repetitive behaviours that you think may be stims that, you know, help you feel calm, happy, whatever, let me know in the comments below. These sorts of things are always cool to talk about, and obviously if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more videos from me, click subscribe as well. If you hit the bell icon, that means you'll be notified as soon as I post a new video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.